The report didn't know that stuff. But one thing that I will tell you, starting with tomorrow, you are going to want to have something straight in order to draw your lines. Okay? Meaning, an ID, a credit card, a license, a ruler is preferable, but I'm not going to force you to go out and find a ruler or something like that. But you need something straight, because starting tomorrow, we're going to be graphing lines. And your lines on your graph need to be straight, or you are not going to get points. Okay? It's the attention to the little details that make you a better person. Okay? And so we need you to be good with these so that later on in this class, we can find intersections by graphing. Okay? And if you're just willy-nilly hodgepodging your graphs, your intersection is going to be off. And then you're not going to get any points down. So we're going to start now. Bring something straight for you tomorrow, starting because we're going to start graphing lines. Okay? Today, we're going to talk about slope and rate of change. Okay? So we're going to refresh back in, I want to say it was algebra and geometry. I think you guys were talking about slopes and rates of change and all that fun stuff. And so here we go. So what is slope? Okay? So technically, slope is the rate of change that a line has. Let me get the actual definition here. 2, 2, 2. Okay. So the true mathematical definition of a slope is the constant rate of change in a linear function. Okay? Constant rate of change in a linear function. Okay? Yeah. I'm not lying. You probably want to pay a little bit. That's the mathematical. Oh yeah, I got it in the back of my head, Carter. Trust me. Okay? Okay? Now that's the mathy, definition of it. Okay? What do you guys think slope is? What would you guys give as a description of slope? What do you mean? What do you mean line? Because just drawing a line doesn't tell me anything about slope.
Line, 2 points.
Nope. It's something about the line. What about the line is slope? So what I hear is you're talking like the steepness of the line, like the pitch of the line. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yep.
Or are you just randomly saying a line? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I was going back to the answer. Okay, so we're talking. So you guys probably know it as the steepness of a line. Preview of things to come. How many different types of slope are there? How many different types of slopes are there? Anybody? 3? 2? What are two you're thinking of? Positive and negative, that's 2 for sure. Okay, anything else? Curves down a line. So 0 would be 1, so that would be 3. And then what? Up vertical would be undefined, right? Okay, so there's 4 different kinds of slopes. Okay, there's
positive slopes, there's negative slopes, there's zero slopes, and there's undefined slopes. Now, how can we go about finding what a slope is of a line? How do we go find it? What do you got? Pick 2 points that are on the line and do what? What equation? Okay, that's not the equation I was thinking of, but okay. Because I don't need 2 points on a line to do y equals mx plus b. Alright, I just need the line, right? Okay, so let's keep thinking about that. Well, what did you say? Rise over run. That's probably the most common type 1 of the way to find it is rise divided by run. Okay? We'll go back to the second part of what you said, Ray. What did you say? Y equals mx plus b? What part of y equals mx plus b is the slope? It's the m, right? Do you know why it's called m? Or why we use m? It was a French mathematician that came up with the concept of slope. And in the French language, he was walking through the hills of France, and he's like, each of these hills has a different steepness. And that's where he came up with the concept of slope. Because in the French language, monter is to climb. So he was climbing hills, and so he used M for monter. Okay? A little history lesson, a little math history for you. Okay? What else? Is there any other? Do we have any other? I would ask you kind of what got lost. Because you started on the right path to where I wanted you to go, but then you jumped tracks to y equals mx plus b. So you need 2 points, okay? So if I have 2 points, how do I find the slope? So close. The other way around. Yep. It's subtract the y's over subtract the x's. Yep. Now some people might call that delta y over delta x. Okay? That's the difference in y's over the difference in x. Delta is a way in mathematics to say that, but we think of it as we subtract the y's over we subtract the x's. Now, I'm going to add a challenge question in here on this one. Does it matter if in Ray's 2 points, does it matter which point we go first? Give me your reading. Now, give me your reading why it would matter. So does it matter? So like if you're at point A and I'm at point B, okay, there's a slope between us, right? Right? Okay, we're not talking distance. Okay, we're talking slope, right? Okay, so we're actually looking like from above. Okay, right? Does it matter if we start by you and come to me, or if we start by me and go to you? The same slope no matter what, right? Because it's the same one line. Okay? So it doesn't matter which point you choose to go with first. Alright? So here are our 4 different types of slopes. So if we had a positive slope, okay, that could look like 3. That could look like, give me a fraction, 1/2. That could look like, I don't know, give me another number. 2. Looks like all of those. Right? Positive slopes go in which direction? Left, right, to me says this way. So it goes up and to the right is what you're saying? Okay. So as we're going to the right, we're going up. Okay, I would agree with that. Got to be a little more, you know what I mean? Because left to right, because you could say left to right on the same thing with negative slopes, zero slopes, and undefined slopes. Because it's not really giving me it. Okay? The description, because you're going to be asked to give the description. The description is going to be it rises to the right. It's going up. It's increasing. It's increasing. Negative slopes. We'll use our same 3, but now it would be negative 3, or negative 1/2, or negative 2 over positive 1. Okay? Those would be negative slopes. Which direction do negative slopes go? Down and to the right. Okay? So those would look like this. The description that you would give, so that we're all giving the same description, would be that it falls to the right. Or it is decreasing. So as the function, as the x is inputs grow, we're decreasing. A zero slope is going to look like 0 or 0 over some number. Actually, tap the brakes. Let me, changing up my mind on my spacing. 0 or 0 over some number, or no x in your equation. There's no x in a zero slope equation, because the slope, if we go back to raise y equals mx plus b, if my slope is 0, 0 times x is always going to be 0. So it's not there. It's not in the equation. Okay? Those lines are left to right. If we think about rise over run, we don't rise, but we run whatever we want to run. Okay? We call those horizontal lines, or a constant function. Okay? And lastly, we've got an undefined slope, and that is some number divided by 0, or no y in your equation. Those have all of the rise, but none of the run, and we call those vertical. Vertical. You will need to know the difference between those. You should already know those differences, but you will definitely need to know those before Friday, because you will be quizzed on them on Friday. No? So, if we need to find the slope of the line, so reading the directions, because a lot of the quiz questions, a lot of your final, I mean, let's be honest, I am teaching you the final. Or Mr. Roth and I are teaching you the final in this class. Okay? Because we have to give NTC's final. We have 0 say in the questions that are on the final. Okay? So we are teaching you what is all on the final. And on previous finals, this has been the directions for this type of problem, for these types of problems. Find the slope of the line passing through the points, then tell if it rises or falls to the right, is horizontal or vertical. So how many answers do you need to give me in this question? Or for this question? 2. You have to give me what the actual slope is, and then you have to give me that description of that slope. Okay? If you only give one of them, you're only giving half of the answer, you're only getting half of the points. Okay? Right? Classic NTC final type question. Okay? So, find the slope between 2 points. We could do rise over run if we graph them. If we wanted to graph them, we could graph them. We could find the equation of a line, but we haven't learned how to do that until tomorrow, so let's not do that. So let's utilize our formula M equals delta Y over delta X. So the change in Y's over the change in X's. Okay? So if I go 5 minus a negative 2 divided by negative 3 minus 5. Or I could go negative 2 minus 5 over 5 minus negative 3. I could switch the order of the points. Doesn't matter. According to what we talked about before, we should get the same answer. Okay? 5 minus a negative 2 is positive 7. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. So I get negative 7/8 there. Or 7 over negative 8, I should say. Negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7. 5 minus a negative 3 is 8. I get negative 7/8 there. Those are both the same. So we call that negative 7/8 is our slope. And does it rise? Does it fall? Is it horizontal or is it vertical? It falls to the right because it's negative. Try another one. Oops. Delta Y over delta X. Doesn't matter which order we go in. 8 minus 8 divided by 7 minus negative 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. 7 minus negative 8 is 15. What is 0 divided by 15? That is 0. Is that a rise? Is that a fall? Is that horizontal? Or is that vertical? You now try those two. So we have negative 1 minus 5 here. We have 3 minus 3 there. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. What is negative 6 divided by 0? What? We agree with 0. Do not agree with 0. What's the next one? I do 1. Do we agree with 1? Do not agree with 1. What do we got? Undefined. It's not possible. So this slope is undefined. which means this is a vertical line.
Can't divide by 0.
That brings us to the next one, the last one. So then we've got 2 minus a negative 4 all over 3/4 minus 1/4. So that's going to be then 2 minus a negative 4 is like 2 plus 4, which is 6. 3/4 minus 1/4 would be 2/4, which we could reduce to 1/2 if we wanted to. Keep, change, flip says then that we're going to keep the 6. We're going to change the division to multiplication, and we're going to flip the bottom fraction, which then would give me 24 divided by 2, so the slope here should be 12. 12 is positive, so this one rises to the questions, comments, concerns, clarifications. The other big style of problem that NTC classically does for slopes is it gives you a full point, and then it gives you half of another point, but then it tells you what the slope is that they want between those 2 points. Okay? So it gives you enough information, and then it says, find the missing variable. In this case, it was k, because I literally took it off the middle of the test. Okay? So it said, find the missing variable k. Well, we know that the slope of a line is going to be the y's subtracted divided by the x's subtracted. We know that the slope of this line that we want is -2, so we can replace -2 with, or we can replace m with -2. We know that the first point is good. It's 3 and -3. So we would put -3 there, and we will put +3 there. Then we have subtraction signs here. And then we've got this other one, k, comma, 4. 4 is the y part, so it's going to go up on top. K is the x part, so it's going to go on the bottom. So we get this equation here. So then what we can do is we can say, well, -2 over 1 is equal to -7 over 3 minus k. How would you go about solving that proportion? Cross multiply. Exactly. You would definitely want to cross multiply. So we would cross, so we would go -2 times 3 minus k equals 1 times -7. And then we can solve it from there. So then that's going to give us -6 plus 2k equals -7. Adding 6 to both sides gives me 2k equals -1. Dividing both sides by 2 gives me k has to be -1/2. If k is -1/2, then the slope between those 2 points above is -2. Huh? In life, lines can be one of three choices. So now we're talking actual lines, but we're using the slopes of those lines to determine if they're parallel, if they're perpendicular, or if they're neither. So lines are either parallel, perpendicular, or neither. That's your only three choices for a pair of lines, or a grouping of lines. Okay? Okay? So if two lines are parallel, what can you tell me about their slopes? If they're parallel. They would have the exact same slope. Correct. Okay? So if we have parallel lines, the slopes are equal. They're exactly the same. Okay? Parallel lines have the same slopes. Okay? If two lines are perpendicular, what can you tell me about their slopes? Opposite. Okay, because one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative. Okay. Anything else? Or all positive slope lines perpendicular to negative slope lines? Let's take a pause for the cause here. What does it truly mean to be perpendicular? What kind of an intersection do those lines make? 90 degrees, right? Makes 4 90-degree angles, 4 right angles. Okay? So just saying, Henry, just saying positive and negative. I'm going to use this up here on the front board. I'm going to use this as an example. These are not perpendicular. Okay? But one is positive and one is negative. So we cannot just say that they have opposite slopes. Okay? There's more to it. Better, as I was telling Will before, better description is what we need. Okay? So what else could we add to just opposites? There's another word that we can add to it. It's an R word. Perpendicular. R word. Opposite blank. Say it louder. Somebody just said it. Reciprocal. Yep. Opposite reciprocals. Perpendicular lines meet at a 90-degree angle, and they have opposite reciprocal slopes. Now, what does it mean to be an opposite? Well, that's that positive and negative thing from before. So if your first slope is A over B, then your perpendicular slope is going to be negative. That's the opposite part. Okay? One's positive, one's negative. What's the reciprocal part? What do you do to reciprocate a fraction? You flip the whole fraction over. So this one, if my first slope is A over B, my perpendicular slope is going to be negative B over A. So if my first slope is A over B, my perpendicular slope is both negative and B over A. I have to do both in order for it to be perpendicular. If I don't, then it's just neither. Okay? So if the slopes are exactly the same, 2 and 2, negative 4/7 and negative 4/7, if they're exactly the same, those lines are parallel. If they're opposite reciprocals, positive 2, negative 1/2. Negative 5/9, positive 9/5. Okay? If they're opposite reciprocals, then they're perpendicular. If there's something different, they're neither. Okay? The lines can only be parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And the neither in higher level math we call skew. goes through the point 5, comma, negative 1, and 6, comma, negative 2. Line number 2 goes through the point negative 2, comma, 3, and 4, comma, 8. This half of the room right here. So you guys and you 2 rows, you find me the slope of line number 1. Okay? You guys find me the slope of line number 2. Okay? And then we'll compare them between them. For line number 1, I got negative 1 minus a negative 2 all over 5 minus 6. Negative 1 minus a negative 2 is positive 1 all over negative 1. So I get a slope here of negative 1 for line number 1. My left half, actual right half of the room, does everybody agree with the slope of negative 1? Do you see what you did wrong? Yeah. Well, you said negative 3 from the start.
Oh,
Yeah. See what you did wrong? Missed the negative sign.
I didn't.
That's fine. You should still get the same answer.
Yeah.
Yep. Negative 2 minus negative 1 would give you negative 1. 6 minus 5 would give you positive 1, so it still gets me negative 1. No. You rewind. If you rewind the video, Carter, focus here. If you rewind the video about 5 minutes, you will hear me say, it doesn't matter which point you choose first. As long as it's y minus y and x minus x. Yep. Okay. Other half of the room, you should have gotten here 3 minus 8 all over negative 2 minus 4. 3 minus 8 is negative 5. Negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6. That gives me a slope of positive 5, 6. Okay. Negative 1 and positive 5, 6. Are they the same? No, they are not the same. Are they opposites and reciprocals? Has to be both. They are opposites, correct? One's positive, one's negative. But they are not reciprocals because the reciprocal of 5, 6 is 6/5. Okay? So since they are neither parallel, because they're not the same, nor perpendicular, they are skew or neither. Gotta be the same to be parallel, gotta be opposite reciprocal to be perpendicular. Okay? You, yes you, now try both. So now you've got to come up with both slopes and tell me if it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither. 3 minus 4 all over negative 9 minus 0. 3 minus 4 is going to be negative 1. Negative 9 minus 0 is negative 9. So that gives me a slope here of 1/9. Okay. Line number 2 would be negative 4 minus 5 all over 3 minus 2. Negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9. 3 minus 2 is positive 1. That gives me a slope here of negative 9. Are they the same? No, they are not the same. Are they opposite reciprocals? Yes, they are opposite reciprocals. So because they are opposite reciprocals, they are perpendicular. An upside down capital T is the symbol for perpendicular. Makes it go a little faster than writing out the big long word, perpendicular. Okay. Mathematicians came up with symbols for all of their. Okay. You now have the ability to do a few problems on your this week's worksheet. You can do numbers 1 through 5 on this week's worksheet, and then, yeah.